Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're cutting straight through, taking a close look at some really focused material on Prime 50 Circle. It's, a community, a resource built specifically for men hitting 50 or already past it.
Right. And what jumps out straight away from these sources is how they tackle that major midlife moment head on. Turning 50, society often frames it as maybe slowing down, decline.
Yeah, losing relevance maybe, career plateaus, family roles changing, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Prime 50 Circle sees all that baggage, acknowledges it, and then positions itself as like the answer, the antidote.
They really seem set on flipping that whole narrative, don't they? So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the structure, the real practical advice this framework uses. We're digging into the four core pillars they say can turn this big milestone. Well, turn it from feeling like a decline into the actual start of a man's real prime.
Yeah, making it about opportunity, not anxiety. It's a big promise. We need to see how they actually map that out.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation, identity, right? Who is this really for?
Well, the target audience isn't just any man over 50. It seems to be guys over 50 who feel like maybe things are a bit out of their control and they want to grab the reins again. The main mission, then, is empowerment, moving guys from, playing defense to really thriving, taking charge of that second half.
I like that they start there with the mental game. It's about changing the story you tell yourself. Instead of thinking you have to shrink your world because you're getting older, the whole idea is about expanding, realizing that all that experience, 50 plus years of it, that's actually fuel for leading, not for fading out.
And that's a really necessary counter-narrative, isn't it? The old script says your career peaks in your 40s, maybe early 50s, and then what? A lot of men feel adrift. So Prime 50 Circle tries to replace that void with structure. These four pillars. They argue you can't just fix one part of life alone.
Right, the pillars. So the four key areas they focus on for success after 50, let's name them. It's wealth, health, relationships, and purpose.
Those are the big four. And they're presented as completely interconnected. You need all of them firing.
That holistic view makes sense, but let's talk about the tone for a second. The material we looked at uses words like aggressive, an aggressive commitment to getting better. It's about leveling up, not just, settling in.
Yeah, the language is definitely active. It's not about a gentle glide into later life. It's framed as optimization, taking control.
But does that strong leveling up approach maybe risk pushing away guys who are genuinely feeling tired or burned out or maybe facing real health issues? Like, is there room in this framework for guys who need recovery before they can think about expansion?
That's a really good question. A sharp observation. The sources seem to suggest that the aggressive part is more about the mindset, the commitment to actually doing something, not necessarily the pace of the action itself. So for someone feeling burned out, the content actually positions recovery, which we'll get to under health, as the first strategic step in leveling up.
Ah, okay. So aggressive might mean disciplined self-care in that context, not just pushing harder recklessly.
Exactly. It reframes commitment. Makes sense.
Okay, I get it. Right, let's dive into the first two pillars then, the ones I kind of see as the stabilizers. Wealth and health. You need that security, that foundation, before you can really tackle the deeper stuff, right?
Makes perfect sense. So pillar one, financial growth and security. And look, this isn't just about checking your 401k balance. The real goal here is to shift guys from that sometimes paralyzing financial fear, which, is huge in this age group. Worries about outliving savings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that retirement duration anxiety is real. So the sources mention wealth preservation, smart money management. That's fairly standard. But here's where that prime idea seems to kick in and where I think it gets interesting. They really push proactive growth, building new ways to bring in money.
Precisely. They seem to recognize that, okay, you're 55, maybe starting a brand new business from absolute scratch feels daunting, maybe too risky or time-consuming. So the content seems focused on leveraging what you already know, monetizing decades of career expertise.
How specifically?
Well, teaching men how to turn that corporate or industry knowledge into things like consulting gigs, maybe high-ticket coaching, or building online courses or info products based on their experience. It's about using that accumulated wisdom as actual capital.
Okay, so translating that high-value professional background into something more flexible, maybe more scalable, using past success to literally fund the future you want. But if they're pushing new income streams, even leveraging expertise, what about the risk? Men closer to retirement, they need to be careful, right? Do the sources talk about managing that?
They do, yeah. The emphasis isn't on, like, high-risk day trading or launching something needing huge upfront investment. It's more geared towards lower overhead digital opportunities. They talk about creating optionality, having several smaller income streams. That way, no single one is make or break. It protects the main retirement funds while still allowing for that growth, that expansion. Feeling financially proactive is framed as key to feeling relevant, feeling prime.
That's pretty specific, actionable stuff. Okay. Which brings us neatly to the absolute bedrock foundation, Pillar 2, health and vitality. Because let's face it, if you don't have your health, if you don't have energy, all the money in the world just buys you a nicer chair to be exhausted in.
Couldn't agree more. And this is where the framework seems to move beyond just generic eat less, move more
Hmm?
advice. Sure, it covers fitness basics, diet fundamentals, but the real deep dive seems to be into what you might call high-performance longevity, strategies that are really relevant to male physiology in midlife.
Okay, give me an example. What's the specific focus beyond, just go to the gym?
Well, for instance, the sources spend a good amount of time on metabolic health and optimizing recovery. They get into things like strategic intermittent fasting, not just for weight loss, but looking at it for like cellular repair,
Yeah.
autophagy. They also hit on understanding hormonal balance. That's huge for energy, muscle mass, mental sharpness after 50.
Right.
It's about treating your body like a system that needs fine-tuning, specialized upkeep.
Right. So it's not just adding years to life, but adding high quality, high energy life to those years, especially in this prime phase they're talking about, including things like deep recovery protocols, specific physiological tweaks that shows a more mature understanding. Vitality at 50 plus isn't just about brute force. It's a balancing act.
A very comprehensive balancing act.
Okay. So with that stability hopefully getting built, financial and physical, then we can maybe turn to the deeper layers. Fulfillment, connection.
Precisely. Which leads us straight into the next two pillars, relationships and purpose. And these are often the areas where men feel the biggest shifts, the biggest earthquakes, maybe between 50 and 60.
Let's look at pillar 3, relationships and connection. This isn't just plan a date night, is it?
Mm.
The framework seems to explicitly call out the really tough stuff this age group faces. We're talking like navigating divorce after many years, getting back into dating when you haven't for decades, or the flip side, how do you actually rekindle things in a long marriage when the kids leave home? That empty nest dynamic.
That empty nest scenario gets a lot of focus. The couple looks at each other after the kids are gone and sometimes realize, okay, we need to figure out who we are again without the daily chaos of parenting. And the solutions offered seem quite practical, giving men actual tools. Things focused on maybe vulnerability, emotional literacy, how to really communicate what you need, and how to listen better, building stronger bonds that way.
And this seems to be where the circle part, the community element, really comes into play.
Absolutely. It's clearly designed to combat that isolation some men feel. Maybe their work network shrinks after retirement or a job change. So it offers that brotherhood, that support system for sharing what's really going on. It normalizes asking for help or advice on things like dating again or working on your marriage, things maybe men haven't traditionally talked about openly.
That's interesting. The emphasis on building a supportive external network, too. Recognizing that your primary relationship, your marriage or partnership, actually does better when it's not the only place you get emotional support.
Yeah, connection is presented as a skill, something you work on proactively. It's not just passive.
That need for shared experience, for connection beyond just the primary partner, that flows really well into the final pillar, doesn't it? Purpose and fulfillment. This one feels like maybe the trickiest. It gets right to that potential identity crisis some men face in midlife.
It is challenging. The core issue is helping men rediscover what drives them, what gives them meaning, especially when those long-held roles, the big career identity, the provider role, start to shift or even disappear. The sources definitely acknowledge that losing a major professional title, for example, can feel like losing a part of yourself.
So the framework has to offer something compelling to fill that potential void, right? What kind of opportunities for fulfillment are they actually exploring in the content?
The central message is really powerful. Life after 50 isn't about winding down. It's framed as opening up, finding projects you direct. So the content looks at things like legacy projects, maybe mentoring younger people in your field, volunteering using your specific skills, or finally starting those creative things you put off for decades. It emphasizes applying all that wisdom you've gathered to challenges you genuinely care about now, not just the ones that used to pay the salary.
So it's a shift. Moving from maybe chasing external success, like salary, title, towards pursuing internal significance, measured more by personal impact, by fulfillment.
That's a great way to put it, and it connects everything back. The idea is you use the financial stability from Pillar 1 and the health and energy from Pillar 2 to really fuel the deeper work in relationships and purpose, Pillars 3 and 4.
Yeah.
They're structurally linked. The confidence from getting your finances sorted frees up the headspace for, relationship work or finding that new purpose.
Okay, that synthesis makes it clear. So, wrapping this up, what does this whole analysis of the Prime 50 Circle framework really tell us? What's the big takeaway for someone listening?
Well, I think the whole framework is a really deliberate attempt to redefine that mid-century mark, not as an endpoint or a point of loss, but as a strategic launchpad. The core message is that to genuinely thrive in these prime years, you need to be working across all 4 domains simultaneously: wealth, health, relationships, and purpose. It's presented as a blueprint, really, a system for turning common anxieties of this life stage into a process for actively leveling up, leading with all that experience you've gained, not feeling like you're being left behind. It's more than content. They position it as a movement.
Leading with experience, expanding, not shrinking. That's the theme. And since the whole point seems to be about taking deliberate, strategic control, we'll leave you, the listener, with this final thought to consider. Thinking about those 4 pillars: wealth, health, relationships, purpose. If you had to pick just one area right now that offers the most leverage for improving your life, what single, specific, disciplined action could you take, starting today, to begin truly living in your prime?
Find that one point of leverage and start expanding from there.
Until next time, stay curious.